Good morning, everybody. My name is Maurice Pentel, and I run a thing called the Customer Experience Foundation. And what I'm here to talk to you about today is the way in which things are changing. And I thought that was a really good example of something that's come out of left field that's probably going to change the way that customers interact with each other and interact with businesses over the next few years. I'm not going to be talking very much about technology. The people exhibiting, the people speaking here today are capable of pretty much giving you virtually anything you want. So what I'm here to talk about is the thinking behind that. It's about the strategy that drives your need for new technology. It's about the strategy that you need to engage in order to provide these guys with effective requirements. So I'm really just going to be talking about contact strategy. I'm going to be talking about some trends and some things that are currently going on. I hope you find that of interest and of use. But if I may, just because I'm the first speaker and because I want to make sure everyone's awake, how many of you think you currently have a contact strategy? If you do, could you raise your hands? Okay, tough crowd, huh? Oh, thank goodness this one. How many think that they've got a customer strategy? No? Okay, a couple. So here's an old truism. You can't manage what you don't map. So in terms of the use of technology, if you don't actually know what your customer relationships are all about, if you're not actually making the most of planning and strategy, then the money that you spend on technology may actually be working against you. And I'm going to try and prove that to you now. Defining a customer strategy, defining a customer experience is really quite a simple thing to do. And as the slide shows you, you can just start out with some simple boxes and work out what you know and what you don't. What I'm here to talk to you about today is common sense. This is not complex business science. This is a world of simplicity. So I'm going to try one more time to get you all to raise your hands. Can I ask how many people in this room think that engaged staff using good technology to service happy customers well probably is more cost-effective and produces more revenue than not having any strategy at all? Welcome to my world, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning. So what do we need in contact strategy? Well, here's something for you guys to think about. The number one thing that consumers want, according to a group called Elderman, is trust. They want to be able to trust you as suppliers. And by the way, I believe these slides are being distributed. Is that correct? So don't worry, I'm going to be moving quite fast through some of this stuff. There's a clock here ticking that I need to work with. British people respond in terms of trust more than any other driver in a customer relationship. And the interesting thing is that one of the ways in which they express trust in this social media world that we live in, and I'm not going to spend too much time on that, means that around 45% of consumers now actually give feedback on places like eBay. They write reviews on TripAdvisor, on Amazon. And the other interesting thing is that 65% of people say that they actually respond to that stuff. And just to give you some kind of idea as to where we get this stuff, if it's not attributed in the slides, it's from the foundation itself. This year we've done around 500,000 consumer surveys, and we've done, I think, around 50,000 business interviews. So some of this stuff is directly from us. But I want to talk about what's been going on. So I hope all of you are going to agree with this, but really what we've tended to do is to take anything we can automate and automate it. So, you know, I don't remember the last time I looked at my bank statement except to check that it was roughly right. I wouldn't remember the time before. I don't remember the payments I make. I don't remember an awful lot of transactions. I came on a train today, I swiped a card, and that was it. An awful lot of stuff is automated, and that's great. But what that means is that when people get into contact with us, suddenly the emotional context of the thing, compared with the transactional context of those interactions, has changed significantly. So as we've automated everything that we possibly can, what we end up with is people talking to our experts, whether they're in your business premises, whether they're phoning a call center, whether they're chatting to you online. And I know that we have a lot of different kinds of businesses here today. They tend to talk to you about decisions. They also tend to talk to you about things that go wrong. And when they're really upset, that's when you allow them to talk to a supervisor who can make a decision. Now, for most organizations, the only time that they actually do put you through to someone who can make a decision is when you're really, really upset. And at that stage, you're already losing money. Because the reality is that if you intervene a little earlier, then the amount of what you give away to a less upset customer is actually significant in terms of your bottom line. So rather than having to give someone 3 months, 3 premiums, let me give you a £10 voucher, I know which I'd rather do. Also, the other thing is that the stress on your people as a result of having to deal with more and more emotional content means your staff churn rates and all of those things, that virtuous circle, happier customers, all of those things tend to be less effective. I know you all know this, but customers now have an expectation that you are as good as everyone else in the marketplace. That does not mean that if you sell shoes that you are as good as their best shoe company. It means that you are as good as the best organizations they know. They're comparing you with the rest of their consumer life cycle, not with your direct competitors. And here's a really interesting thing that's gone on. So what used to happen was companies used to talk to people and people used to listen. That was nice. We all enjoyed it. I'm old enough to remember that. Then customers got to the point where they found companies were talking a lot and they wondered what companies were talking about. Now, in the world of social media, people are talking to people about companies. No one owns their brand. And if you think that you own your brand, if you're aware of what's going on Twitter, here is a piece directly from the Customer Experience Foundation website. We have some fun toys there. Feel free to visit. It costs nothing. You don't have to register. This took us about 10 minutes to build. And what this does is look at customer service. It does what people are saying about waiting in IVR. It talks about what people are saying about Vodafone, O2, T-Mobile. And putting these searches together, there are some really clever tools that tell you what people are saying. More to the point, if they're on Twitter, what they're shouting about. So we know people are talking much more, but really what I want to talk to you about is what they're saying and understanding what they're saying. I'm a baby boomer. That places me somewhere over here. He's better looking than me, but I'm hoping the camera's going to lie. And really, this theory, which is, it has some very interesting pieces to it, is a way of slicing up generations in terms of what their key language attributes are. So the model I use for this is the term, "this is sick." Now, if you said that to my stepmom, she would take that to mean that something was really awful. My 15-year-old daughter thinks that's the highest compliment you can pay. So understanding what people are saying, the context in which they're saying it, and who they are is kind of important to understanding the world, to understanding your customers and the way in which they fit into the world. Here's another way of looking at it. So we've already talked about the language people are using. What I now want to remind you is that people have different preferences for different channels. Interestingly enough, the research that we've done recently suggests that the 50-plus generation are taking up LinkedIn and Facebook at a higher rate than anybody else. 2 or 3 years ago, probably it would have been a younger group. We, in my generation, are slowly starting to catch up. But people have channels of choice, and there's a lot of talk these days about becoming multi-channel. And what multi-channel means is that you've got a website, you're maybe on Facebook, maybe you've got a call center, maybe in your shops you have, you have some kind of customer experience thing going on. But the reality is that multi-channel is just table stakes to get into the game. The real challenge, and the thing that these guys can all help you with, is cross-channel. And cross-channel is when I talk to you on my mobile phone, you remember the conversation we had, it appears on your website, I can walk into your store, and everything is part of one integrated customer experience. That's the real challenge of today. That's where the best organizations are heading for. Because he, our customer, remembers us. And we don't do him the courtesy of remembering him. And that's the one thing that kind of sets you off at a disadvantage in a conversation. That's you laying down on the floor when the person walks in and you looking up and saying, "Can I help you?" But there's another piece to this. And here's a really simple exercise we do for a lot of organizations is, does your language, the way in which you describe yourself as a business, bear any relationship at all to the things that people search for? So one of the key themes today is integration. And what we did was, well, I didn't do it, one of my team did it for me. We looked up how many people are interested in finding system integrators. Well, if you compare that with the number of people who put in, "have a problem with my IVR" into a search engine, the difference and the gap is huge. So understanding what your customers actually search for in the world is a really big part of understanding your customer. Really simple to do, not rocket science, doesn't cost a lot. And here's the other thing. If I really matter to you, then don't keep me in a queue for 3 minutes telling me how important I am. Don't tell me that that I can find stuff on the website, because I've just come from there and you're really annoying me. The #1 bugbear with consumers is badly designed IVR today. I want to talk about a change that's going on right now very quickly. It used to be Google was the #1 way to find things. Now people tend to be socially networking in order to find answers to questions. Are you in the right social networks? Are you talking to the right people? Are you using the right tools? So our old world looked like this. We owned all of this technology, and and we planned what happened with the customer. Now the customer is talking about us, and our ability to engage, serve, support, retain actually remains in the customer domain. I hate to sound like a cliche, but customer service really is one of the new forms of advertising. And if you don't believe me, check out that page I showed you on our website and see what people are saying about customer service and about about organizations who they dislike. Because they talk a lot about the people they dislike and less about people who they do like. Why should you listen to your customers? Well, here's a simple thing. They tell you what they want, they tell you when they want it, they tell you how they want it, they tell you how to make it better, they tell you what they like, what they don't like. Philips, the consumer products giant, actually get customers to help them design their products. It's reduced their time to market by a third, it costs them significantly less, and interestingly enough, the products all sell better. It's a really simple case study. Customers will tell you how to improve your products. They'll tell you what's wrong with your contact strategy. If you listen to them, if you do voice of the customer as part of your strategy, then you're going to find out what's going on. Consumer opinion is so important. And the reason that it's important is a lot of it's quite unfair. It's only the most angry people who will go and tweet, and to a great extent, that's an exception management piece that you've got to do. The majority of your customers aren't going to say anything. But knowing whether or not they're mildly dissatisfied or whether or not they're actively satisfied is a good thing to understand. How can you measure the lifetime value of your customer if you don't know what he's really thinking? So the shift has been like this. We used to be in charge as businesses. Customers did what we wanted because we owned the processes, and because they couldn't comment, they couldn't organize. In the 21st century, everything has changed. The number one resource that is scarce in this world is customers. Don't kid yourself, it's experts. Don't kid yourself, it's technology. There's always another thing you can do. But the thing that you can't win back is customers. In most cases. Demonstrate effective management of their problems, engage with them when they complain, and you turn disaffected saboteurs into advocates. And that's another very good thing to do. The other big thing that we've all got to come to terms with, as you saw from that opening movie, and I hope you enjoyed that, I'll share with you, I saw that at a speech, at an event that I went to. I was doing a speech there, and I was sitting next to this guy from Google, and he said to me, if you think that's impressive, wait and see. So goodness knows what's coming down the pipe, but you can bet your bottom dollar that people will be using mobile devices to interact with you more, and making mobile device a core part of your contact strategy is a very important thing. So let me just dispel a couple of myths. If Twitter kept going at the rate that it's going, then not only would we hit 1 billion, but by the time we get to 2015, we'd have 1 trillion tweets. Does anyone here believe that that's the case, or that maybe things are changing? Okay. So let's have a look at how they're changing. This is a snapshot done this year, around about 3.5 months ago. This is people who joined social networking. Right? Existing users, around about 50% of them were completely happy with what they were doing today. So they were sitting on Facebook, they were sitting on Skype, and they were really happy with that. But look at the other 50%. Whatever it is the social networks of today are delivering, 50% of the people want more. And you know what? Somewhere in a garage, somewhere, there are 2 kids drinking a bottle of Thunderbird wine, typing away on some little machine, who are about to invent a new revolution that we don't even understand yet. That PayPal piece at the front end of this, they won't necessarily be the ultimate winner. But that kind of bump technology, that kind of thing, will change retail. All of this stuff is mashing together to produce types of change we simply don't understand. But I want to talk about social media in terms of hype. There are already people who are leaving social media. There are already people who think that Facebook's a bad thing, having been on it as advocates a short while ago. But around 14 million people a year ago, and we don't exactly know how many people today, because there's been a big program about it, have no access to computers at all. And you need to be aware that they might be your customers too. So round about 40% of people currently use social networks. Round about 45% are aware of the idea of social support. Now, what do I mean by social support? I mean that you can get help online through Facebook on a particular website. But less than 20% of people have actually done anything like that. So your Facebook page maybe is a channel, maybe it isn't. Most people don't know about it. Most women, interestingly enough, think that there ought to be more Facebook pages for more products and services, and most men really don't want it. Yeah. People over 60, they really don't know what you're talking about. And the most common thing that people want to do today, I want to show you, is to separate out their world in social media. So they don't want their college friends knowing what they do at work, and what they're doing at work has nothing to do with their hobbies, and they'd rather their family didn't know that they went on that weekend. This is not a surprise. This is the next generation of technology. So I'm going to end up in my last few minutes by giving you an exercise that you can take back to your own organizations in order to help you define your strategy. And this is really a series of questions. We use it a lot with people. You don't need me standing there to ask these questions for you, and they will be in the slide deck at the end. So here's a really simple one. Sit down with your team, say, who is it we like? Why do we like them? What would we like to be more like them? How would we be more like them? Who are the people who we hate? Which organizations give us personally the worst service? You know, has anyone here had a bad experience with a call center? If you have, raise your hands. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. All right, could we shut up more? Have I got time for the story? I do. I speak a lot at public events. I did one for a group of banks. And I said to them, how many people here, to this group of bankers, actually read all the material that they get from their own bank? No one put their hand up. So why do you send it? I said. No one said a word. Counterintuitively, we probably send too much bump or say too much stuff on our websites, and what we forget is that it's about what the customer's pain is, what their problem is. That's what they want to know about. They want to be able to find out the rest of that stuff, but what they actually want you to deal with first, foremost, and number one is their pain. I used to work for a very big bank. I had the honor to serve in the customer experience function for a little while back when they were trying to work out what customer experience meant. And our worst customer experience was that when you phoned up because you had a problem, if you had a problem, you were option 4. So the time when you were most emotionally worried, actually you were the last option. My IVR, if I didn't have automated speech recognition, would say, if you have a problem, press 1. Okay? But it was worse for us as an organization because, in fact, if you had all your cards stolen, you couldn't walk into one of our branches and report it. At best in branch, we could give you a phone number, and in some branches, they were kind enough to actually let you use a phone. But otherwise, you couldn't record you're laughing, but it's true. Could we listen more? Having a Voice of the Customer program, Voice of the Customer means open-ended questions. Yeah, it's very easy to ask closed-ended questions and find out very little about your organization. Open-ended questions gives your customer the opportunity to describe the moment of truth. Yeah, you can do this stuff very simply. Some of the guys have technology to do this. If not, there are things like SurveyMonkey. They're virtually free. They take minutes to set up. Find out what your customers are actually saying. Here's the next thing. Do people lie to us? Do we lie to our customers? Is there anybody here who's actually walked out of a restaurant slightly dissatisfied by something that they've eaten and still smiled and left a tip and said, that was great, you don't need to put your hands up, I know it's true. Yeah. This is someone assuring me that she never broke a PC. We lie to get people off the telephone. Well, if we do it, what about our customers? Do you think they're telling the truth all the time? What is it we're honest about with our customers? Now, you know, one of the big bugbears that we're helping some organizations work through at the moment is that their industry practices actually, all the people in their industry kind of admit the truth about certain things. And the best one that I can think of is broadband up to 20 meg. All right? Unlimited use. Yeah? What is it we're really being honest about? Okay? Remember that my second slide was about trust. All right? We say too much to people. We say the wrong things to them. We don't understand their language. If someone speaks to us, you know, in a slightly different language, then we're really uncomfortable with that. So what is it that we're honest about? These are really important things. Oops. Okay, so the big questions. What do our relationships look like? Who are we having relationships with? What are those relationships? When do we have them? What point in their lives do we deal with our customers? Why do they want our services, and how do we deliver them? 5 simple questions. They are the core of journalism. Who, what, when, why, where, and how. Yeah? They apply to business. And, sorry, something I forgot to mention at the beginning is that actually the same is true in business-to-business supply as it is in business-to-consumer. The only difference is that for a lot of business-to-business organizations, there's an end user who you don't get to talk to, who really you need to spend time understanding. So if you deliver a product or service through a third party, and a good example, I think, is Cisco and some of the other big players who are here today. But in fact, I was at a conference in Monaco last week, and I can't find a way to say that without sounding slightly smug. Land Rover find that they have no direct relationship with their customers because it's all through dealers. And the worst thing is, a good car sold through a bad dealer is less likely to get a secondary relationship, i.e. a second sale of a new car, than a bad car sold through a good dealer. Yeah, it's not a fair world. Okay, we're nearly done, so what do your customer relationships cost? Most organizations who we consult with have no idea what their relationships cost. They understand their transactions. But I'm going to tell you a really quick story. Actually, I don't have time for a really quick story, but the bottom line is that you need to understand the lifetime value of your customers. You need to divide that by the transactions involved in managing your customers. And most organizations don't have the basic maths. It's not rocket science, it's simple. How do you get momentum in contact strategy? The simple answer is be simple. Use common sense. What can I test today? What can I do to improve things today? Find the low-hanging fruit. One of the biggest problems people have is gaining momentum. Forget about all the holes you have in your contact strategy. Concentrate on the things you know, and you will start to get traction. Once you start to see those results, improved customer relationships, improved costs, then you really are enabled to move things forward. How do I get momentum? Be the band. And I don't remember her name, but very hot band right now. Contact strategy is a team sport. You need to engage customer service. You need to engage your suppliers. You need to engage everybody in customer experience. Finally, what are the questions we're not asking? Yeah. I can guarantee that if you take that exercise back to the office and you get to question 10, your guys will come up with 4 or 5 questions you need to answer. Do the same thing next month, and there'll be 4 or 5 new answers. That's it from me. I hope you found that interesting. Thank you for your time today.